Hey, what is up, everybody? Sean here, and I'm going to be talking about some breaking news from President Trump, who just signed 4 executive orders on some really important and crucial things that a lot of us have been waiting on. And that's going to include the unemployment extension. It's going to include student loan forgiveness. It's going to include eviction moratorium and also payroll tax cuts. So this is stuff that literally has just gotten signed not only but a few hours ago. So it's super recent. So we're going to talk really briefly about those details, what it means, what it includes, and how that's going to affect you. So before we get started, make sure you smash that like button because you are awesome. All right, so the very first thing is, and this is probably the most pressing thing, is the unemployment extension. Now, without going to all that detail before, because I'm sure you've seen some of my videos, if not, make sure you check them out below. But as you know, unemployment, the federal unemployment, that's $600 a week, has ended at the very end of this past month of July. And it's been going back and forth in Congress, between the Republicans and the Democrats. Should we extend it? Should we not? There has pretty much been a unanimous, we should extend it. But the real debate has been by how much. You've got the Republicans who are saying, like, let's just put it at $200 a week. It's fine. You have the Democrats who are saying, like, no, that's not enough. Like, we need $600 a week. Honestly, even to $600 for most families is not even enough to get through this time. For those who have lost their job, who've been in a furlough. With that, there's been all kinds of stalemates back and forth, and it really just doesn't seem like we're going to get much of an agreement here. President Trump did just sign an executive order basically saying that there's going to be a $400 per week, so $1,600 a month unemployment extension. So this is actually gonna be a pretty big thing because this is going to help a lot of people. And, to be honest, there's a lot of angles that might be being played here, not just for financial aid, because obviously people need that, but there probably is a political angle here as well, because obviously by signing this in, there's a possibility of, if the Democrats who want to fight this and say there should be more and try to block it, or try to sue or something saying you shouldn't be doing this, this could look very political in some ways. Who knows all the angles on this, but we do know for sure this executive order has been for $400 a week to help create financial aid for those who are in need and to get this thing going as quick as possible. The second executive order that was signed is a payroll tax cut. So this is going to be pretty big for obviously employers and employees, but essentially what it's going to do is going to have a temporary payroll tax cut, at least until November 3rd, where the average person is probably going to be receiving maybe like 7.5% or so increase on their paycheck, because employers are being able to forfeit, or not forfeit, but they're going to be able to push back the amount they would normally pay for payroll taxes and, extend that and push that out, which will put more money into Americans' pockets. Now, the way payroll taxes usually work is that your employer pays around 7.5%, and then the employee pays around 7.5%. So the employee is not going to be able to take the 7.5% and push that out, but the employer is. And so that's going to be one of the big things, except for there's a few clauses where if you're an employee that makes over $100,000 a year, the company is not going to be able to use you as, to push that out. But long story short, people probably will be seeing, or could be seeing, an additional, maybe 7.5%. So that could be pretty substantial based on how much money you make. Now, the reason why it's only getting pushed until November 3rd is because that's, election day. And what Trump has said is that if he were to get reelected, he's not only going to try to have that, pushed till November 3rd, but he's going to maybe permanently cancel that payroll tax cut and make this more of a permanent thing. Trying to create some sort of incentive probably for people to, vote for him, get him reelected. So that could be a pretty big thing, depending on how all that rolls out. So the third executive order that was just pushed was an eviction moratorium, extending the fact that people cannot get evicted during this time, especially during certain circumstances. So if you have been covered through the eviction moratorium with the previous CARES Act, that is getting pushed out for quite a few more months to possibly the end of the year here. So that's going to be a really huge thing, especially for people who are really hurting during this time. Maybe you've been unemployed, you got furloughed, temporary furloughed, haven't gotten your job back, having a hard time making the rent payment. So that's going to be really interesting to kind of dive into that and see what that's going to look like. The last executive order that was passed was regarding student loan forgiveness. Now, because of the CARES Act and the other legislation that's been passed, as of right now, there has been zero interest occurring on your student loans up until the end of September. And this was supposed to be something temporarily to help aid during, this pandemic, people who are struggling financially, so that your student loan debt does not continue to pile and accrue interest during this time. What this executive order does is that it pushes this out at least until the end of the year to once again have further aid and to have deferment on student loan payments. So this is going to be probably a pretty big help for a lot of people, especially during this time when it comes to student loans. And of course, if you've been, temporary furloughed, you've lost your job and you're really struggling financially, it's to give a little more aid and benefit and cushion so you don't have more debt piling up. Especially for a situation that you had no control over. So anyways, those are the 4 executive orders. I didn't go into every single, detail of those things, but those are very much the highlight points. I want to hear your thoughts on the unemployment, the student loan deferment, and the eviction moratorium, and the payroll tax cuts. What do you think about those things? Was 400 enough? Should we have done more? What are your thoughts? Is this kind of a political move? There's a lot of things that are going on right now because we are coming up to election time that obviously, from the Trump side, there's going to want to be certain pushes to try to say, especially near election, to, kind of get the ball rolling, hopefully get some people voting for him to get other things further extended. So we're not really sure, what every angle is, but, I want to hear your thoughts below. If this video was useful for you, please make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I post all kinds of updates on stimulus packages, personal finance, how to build wealth, how to create financial freedom for yourself. So make sure you check out some of my videos below and also on my channel if you don't mind. And above all else, make sure you stay safe out there. I'm wishing you all the best during this absolutely crazy time that we are living in.